You know how some brand names just like pop in your head instantly, while others are, well, totally forgettable. If you're building something, maybe a business, a project, a brand, are you sometimes stuck wondering what the secret sauce is?
Yeah.
To making it truly stick with people?
Oh, absolutely. It's a common challenge. And that's exactly what we're diving deep into today.
Great.
Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. We're here to pull out the crucial knowledge you need. And today, our focus is razor sharp. We're unlocking fundamental branding principles, the kind that can take your work from just another option to, well, the only option in your audience's mind.
Yeah, and this isn't just academic theory, right?
Not at all.
Oh.
This is about giving you a tangible strategic advantage.
Precisely. So our mission today is to really get under the hood. What makes a brand resonate deeply, not just, superficially. We want to equip you with insights that cut through the marketing jargon and really reveal the core stuff for building an unforgettable presence.
Think of this as your personal blueprint. We've boiled down a lot of info into 7 key secrets. And when you really grasp and implement them, they can fundamentally shift how your brand is seen and how successful it becomes.
Okay, sounds good. So here's the map for our journey today. We're going to explore, let's see.
Go for it.
1, the power of singular focus, owning a word in the mind. 2, the leadership imperative, getting there first.
Crucial.
3, carving your niche category dominance. 4, perception is king, what customers think matters most.
Always.
5, the art of narrowing less is more. 6, sub-brand sabotage, avoiding those extension pitfalls. And finally, 7, name game mastery, crafting a name that sticks.
Solid lineup.
Okay, let's just dive right in. Let's start with that first one, which feels really foundational. The power of singular focus, this idea of owning a single word. What's the core of that?
Well, what's so potent about it is its simplicity, really, combined with its sheer effectiveness. I mean, look around, you're competing for attention everywhere, right?
Totally overwhelming.
Exactly. So the brands that cut through, they stand for one crystal clear thing. Clarity is the ultimate weapon. Own one word, and you're a long way towards owning the market's understanding of what you actually offer.
That makes immediate sense. It's about simplifying the message, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when people think of a specific need, bam, your brand pops up. Like Volvo, what's the word?
Safety. Instantly. Their relentless focus has practically etched that word into our minds when we think about cars. For you, the consumer, it means you get their core promise right away.
Right.
Owning that word is like owning prime real estate in someone's brain. It's the go-to spot when that need arises.
Exactly. And that clarity, it fuels memorability. If safety is your top concern for a car, Volvo is almost certainly on your list. Or Google. It basically become the word search.
You don't just search anymore.
You Google it.
Yeah.
Their focus made them the default. And this isn't just a flash in the pan, right? Owning that word builds real, lasting brand recognition.
Yeah.
Equity that endures.
Precisely. That focused association builds enduring brand equity. It has huge long-term financial implications, and it can even help a brand ride out storms. Now, let's flip that. What happens when a brand tries to be, well, everything? Juggles too many messages.
Uh-oh. That's when things get really foggy for the customer, isn't it?
Yeah.
If your message is scattered, trying to highlight like 10 different things, your customers just end up confused. Like, what do you really do?
Yeah.
You risk becoming just another face in the crowd.
Lost in the noise.
Yeah. And in that overwhelming landscape, if you don't have that specific focus, your brand just gets overlooked. People want clarity. If you don't define your space, they'll go to someone who has.
It's like trying to explain something complex with a really muddled sentence. People just tune out. Your marketing efforts, instead of being like a laser, become this diffused light bulb, spreads your resources thin, dilutes your impact.
Looking at successful U.S. companies really drives this home. We mentioned Volvo and safety, Google and search.
Yeah.
But think about Red Bull and energy.
Oh.
Their whole world, the product, the crazy marketing stunts. It all screams energy.
Absolutely. And then you look at competitors who haven't quite grasped that singular vision. You see car brands, maybe they mention safety in one ad.
Then performance in the next.
And luxury, yeah. Their safety message, even if it's valid, just doesn't land with the same punch as Volvo's constant drumbeat.
Or think about other search engines. They branch out into email, maps, news, everything. Diversification isn't bad in itself, but if it blurs that primary link to search,
they risk losing ground.
Yeah, exactly. They risk losing ground in that core area to the brand that fiercely protects its focus, which is Google.
And the beverage market, forget about it. So crowded. The drinks that lack that sharp, singular focus, like Red Bull's link to energy, they often just struggle. They become just another can on the shelf.
So for you, the listener listening right now,
Yeah.
what's the actionable takeaway here?
Okay, the crucial first step is to really dig deep. Pinpoint that one compelling word or core concept. It has to authentically represent what you offer, and it needs to resonate with your ideal audience. Okay.
Once you've got it, relentless, consistent communication. Every touch point. Your product, your website, your ads, your social media, everything needs to hammer home that central theme. That's the bedrock.
Got it. Consistent reinforcement. Okay, let's pivot. Second branding secret, the leadership imperative, the advantage of just getting there first.
It's a huge advantage, often underestimated. Think about it. It's usually way easier to get your brand into someone's mind first than it is to try and kick out a competitor who's already settled in there, even if your product is technically better.
Oh, okay.
Getting in first often means winning the long game.
It boils down to mind share, doesn't it? If you're the pioneer, the first one to really own a benefit in the customer's mind, you just grab a huge chunk of that initial attention, that first impression. It can be incredibly tough for competitors to overcome, like planting your flag.
Totally. And as the leader, you get to set the standards for the whole category. You influence how customers perceive what a product in that space should be. Think Coca-Cola.
The original. Exactly. For many, it didn't just sell a drink. It defined what cola was, and arguably still does.
Yeah, they shaped the definition. And those early adopters, the first customers, they often form these really strong, lasting bonds with that pioneering brand, a kind of loyalty that's hard for latecomers to break.
Definitely. Now, let's consider the flip side. The challenges for those who aren't first. What are the consequences of missing out on that leadership spot?
Well, right off the bat, you're facing this constant uphill battle just for visibility. You're trying to find space where established brands already have deep roots, tons of recognition. It just takes way more effort, more money just to get noticed. And you always risk being seen as just a follower.
And there's that persistent copycat label risk, isn't there? Even if your product is genuinely innovative, if someone else already defined the category in people's minds,
You look like an imitation.
exactly, you struggle to differentiate yourself meaningfully.
And to even try and compete with that first mover advantage, you often have to spend way, way more on marketing just to get anywhere near the same level of awareness. It's a steeper, more expensive climb.
Looking at U.S. examples really shows this. Coca-Cola's early dominance. Competitors have been fighting it for over a century. Similar products, huge marketing budgets, still a struggle.
And remember IBM in the early days of mainframes.
Oh, yeah.
They established such a powerful early lead. Companies coming in later face this massive challenge just trying to get a foothold. That first mover advantage felt almost insurmountable.
And Amazon, obviously. Their pioneering role in e-commerce gave them a monumental head start. Traditional retailers, they've been playing catch-up ever since. Costly catch-up.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What if you weren't the absolute first in your big industry?
The crucial thing is, okay, maybe you can't be the absolute first in a massive category. That's often unrealistic. But the principle still applies. You can identify and then dominate a new, more specific niche. Look for underserved customers, emerging trends, places where you can be the first to offer a tailored solution or claim a unique benefit. That's how you carve out your own first mover advantage, just in a more defined space.
Okay, that flows really nicely into our third secret. Carving your niche, the strategy of category dominance.
Exactly. If being the first in a broad market is tough, the next best move is often to find or even create a new specialized category where your brand can be the undisputed leader.
So it's about defining your own playground, basically.
Pretty much. If you're the first to define and occupy a new category, you automatically become the leader there. You're not fighting for scraps in an old market. You own the definition and the early growth of the new one.
And as the creator of this new category, you get to set the rules.
You do. You establish the benchmarks. What does this category mean? What does success look like here? How should customers evaluate things in this new space? You're in the driver's seat.
Plus, focusing on a specific category lets you really tailor everything, your product, your marketing, to a very specific group with specific, probably unmet needs. Much more precise.
Definitely. Now think about the alternative. What happens if you don't try to carve out a niche, if you just jump into a crowded, established market?
Well, you're immediately the underdog, right? Facing tough competition from players who are already dug in. They usually have more money, more brand recognition, loyal customers. It's just a much harder, more expensive fight for you.
And without a distinct category to call your own, it's way harder for your brand to stand out.
You blend in.
You risk blending in, becoming just another Me Too option in a sea of sameness.
And ultimately, sticking in a super competitive market might just limit your growth potential. You're fighting for a slice of an existing pie, instead of maybe baking a whole new one for yourself.
Looking at U.S. companies that did this well is insightful. Starbucks, they didn't just open another coffee shop.
That way.
They essentially invented and then dominated the premium coffee experience category. It wasn't just about the coffee. It was the atmosphere, the service, the whole ritual.
Totally. And Tesla.
Yeah.
They didn't just make another EV. They pioneered high-performance electric luxury vehicles.
Yeah.
That specific combo was new and super compelling.
And Spanx, another great one. They didn't just sell another undergarment. They made shapewear a legitimate, even fashionable part of everyday clothing. Created a whole new category.
And you can see the competitors who missed these boats, right? Basic coffee shops competing on price. They missed the premium market Starbucks built.
Exactly. Or early EV makers focused only on practicality, not luxury or performance. They didn't capture the excitement Tesla generated.
And traditional lingerie companies. They just didn't see shapewear becoming mainstream like Spanx did. Missed a huge market.
So for you, the listener, the key insight: actively look for those unmet needs. Find what makes your offering truly different. Then define a new category around that unique value. Aim to be the leader in that specific new space you've defined.
Okay, let's shift gears. Fourth branding secret. Perception is king. The idea that what your customers think matters more than what you say.
This is absolutely foundational. The core idea is branding isn't about the story you tell yourself internally. It's about the reality that exists inside your customers' heads.
So perception is reality.
In branding, pretty much, yeah. For your target audience, their perceived reality is the reality. And a key part of shaping that is creating singularity, making them feel your offering is truly unique, one of a kind.
Right. So if you manage to cultivate positive perceptions, it leads to a much stronger brand overall. People are just drawn to brands they view well, brands they believe in.
And that positive perception often translates directly into pricing power. Customers will often pay more if they believe your brand offers something special, better quality, an experience they can't get elsewhere. That perceived value justifies the price.
And maybe most importantly for the long haul, positive perceptions build trust. They foster real loyalty, customers who feel good about your brand. They come back, and they even become advocates, telling others.
Huge value there. Now, the other side. What are the risks if you neglect managing those perceptions? If you ignore or misread what customers actually think?
Well, if your message and what people actually think are out of sync, your marketing just fails.
Right, a disconnect.
Yeah, a total disconnect. Your carefully crafted messages just don't land.
And if your brand isn't seen as meaningfully different or valuable, then price becomes the main decider, sometimes the only decider.
Which leads to price wars.
Exactly, a race to the bottom, competing on cost alone, not brand strength.
And negative perceptions. They can be incredibly damaging and so hard to fix. Especially today, bad news travels fast online. A tarnished reputation is a nightmare to repair.
Looking at companies that excel here, Apple, masterful at cultivating that perception of innovation, design, premium quality. That perception justifies their prices for many consumers.
And Tiffany & Co., they've meticulously built this image of luxury, exclusivity, timeless elegance. When you buy that little blue box, you're buying into that perception.
And Harley-Davidson. They've tapped into this deep perception of American freedom, rebellion. A whole motorcycle culture is way more than just a bike. It's a lifestyle identity.
And conversely, you see competitors struggle. Tech companies with similar features to Apple, but without that same desirable perception. They often can't command the same loyalty or price.
Or jewelry stores just focusing on discounts, lacking Tiffany's prestige. They find it hard to compete with that allure.
And motorcycle brands without that strong identity, that emotional connection, Harley fosters. They just don't inspire the same passion.
So the actionable advice for you is make a real effort to understand how your audience currently perceives your brand and your competitors. Then, consciously, strategically, craft your messaging, your entire customer experience to shape those perceptions positively. Highlight your unique value. Remember, it's not just what you say, it's what they believe.
Right, what they believe. Okay, moving to number 5. The art of narrowing. The kind of counterintuitive idea that less can be more in branding.
It does seem paradoxical, doesn't it? But the strategic power of focus is undeniable. When you intentionally narrow your brand's offerings, or maybe its target audience, you often unlock deeper expertise and forge stronger connections.
Yeah, like a brand that's laser-focused is usually seen as more knowledgeable, right? More specialized.
Exactly. More trustworthy within its specific area, they become the go-to authority.
And practically speaking, narrowing lets you use your marketing budget more efficiently. You're not spraying it everywhere. You're targeting the specific people who really value what you do best.
Precisely. Saves resources, increases impact. And maintaining that clear focus reinforces what customers connect with your brand. It creates stronger mental shortcuts, makes you more memorable.
So what are the risks then for brands that try to be everything to everyone, the ones that resist narrowing?
Well, the biggest risk is brand dilution. If you offer a huge array of unrelated things, what does your brand even stand for anymore? It gets blurry for consumers.
They can't pin down your core identity.
Right. And that can erode trust. People might think, well, if they do everything, are they really great at anything? Jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing.
And just communicating becomes a mess, right? What's the core message when you're talking about 10 different things? It gets muddled.
Absolutely. Let's look at some U.S. companies that nailed this narrowing thing. Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Initially, they focused only on the home city market. They dominated that before even thinking about competitive airports.
Ah, smart. They didn't try to fight on all fronts at once. And Southwest Airlines famously started with low-cost, no-frills flights on just a few specific routes. That intense focus built their whole brand around affordability and simplicity.
And In-N-Out Burger. Cult following, right? Based largely on a super limited menu, quality burgers, fries, shakes, they resist chasing every fast food fad.
Yeah, you know what you're getting. And you see the flip side, too. Rental companies trying to serve everyone, budget, local, premium airport, often end up with no clear identity anywhere.
Or airlines trying to match Southwest's prices while offering loads of premium services. They end up with a confused message and struggle with costs.
And fast food chains constantly adding tacos, salads, breakfast burritos, whatever's trending. It can dilute their core burger identity, you know.
Totally. So the actionable insight for you, the listener, seriously assess your core strengths. What are you truly exceptional at? Resist that temptation to expand too broadly, too fast. Focus on building a strong, recognizable brand around that core.
Okay, we're on to number 6, and this one feels like a critical warning. Sub-brand sabotage. The danger of stretching one brand name across too many different things. Just because your main brand is strong doesn't mean you can just slap its name on anything and succeed.
That is such a vital point. Brand extensions can work, sometimes, but they are inherently risky. You can quickly undermine, even destroy the equity you've painstakingly built in your core brand with the bad sub-brand move.
So one big benefit of being cautious here is just protecting that core brand equity, right?
Yeah.
Keep different offerings under separate names, and you shield your main brand's reputation.
Exactly. And that separation allows for much more targeted marketing. Different brands let you tailor campaigns specifically to different audiences without confusing your core customers.
Importantly, using separate brands limits the fallout if something goes wrong. If one sub-brand has issues, gets bad reviews, it's less likely to damage the reputation of your main established brand. Containment, basically.
Definitely. Now, the downsides of overextending, what are the serious consequences if you're not careful about sub-brand sabotage?
Well, the most common one is brand dilution. Again, if you put one brand name on wildly different products, what does that brand even mean anymore? Consumers get confused about your expertise, your value.
Right. Is this a budget brand or a luxury brand? A tech brand or a food brand? It gets messy. And stretching into areas where you clearly lack expertise can really damage your credibility, even back in your original market.
People start questioning everything.
They might. They might think if they messed up that, maybe their core stuff isn't so great either.
And just from a marketing standpoint, promoting totally unrelated things under one banner, it leads to confusing, ineffective messages. What's the single story you're telling? It's impossible.
Let's look at companies that manage this well. Procter & Gamble, P&G, classic house of brands. They have Tide for laundry, Pampers for diapers, Crest for toothpaste, all separate focused brands.
Right, you don't see Tide diapers. And Toyota, they deliberately created Lexus for the luxury market. It let them compete there without messing with Toyota's image of affordability and reliability.
Smart move. And Gap Inc. They've got Old Navy, Banana Republic, Athleta, each targeting different customers, styles, price points. They understand needing separate identities for different markets.
And you see the mistakes, too. Luxury fashion brands launching budget lines under the same name. Sometimes it just cheapens the main brand's image.
Or tech companies slapping their name on, I don't know, smart toasters or something completely unrelated. It can confuse consumers about what their core business even is.
And food companies with one brand name covering everything from frozen pizza to yogurt to canned soup. It just becomes hard to maintain a clear message about what that brand actually represents.
So the crucial actionable advice: be really cautious and strategic about brand extensions. Ask yourself, does this new thing truly align with my core brand's values, audience, and perception? If there's a big disconnect, seriously consider creating a separate brand. Protect the equity you've already built.
Okay, we've arrived at our seventh and final branding secret: name game mastery. The critical art of choosing a brand name that actually sticks. This is often the very first thing people encounter.
It really is foundational. And it's key to remember the distinction. Your brand is the whole perception, the experience. Your name is often the first handle, the most easily recalled identifier. A great name is a huge, lasting asset.
Totally. A well-chosen name is just memorable. Easy for people to recall when they need what you offer. It's that mental shortcut.
And ideally, a strong name might even hint at what you do, or the benefit you provide, or the brand's personality. It can give a quick, positive clue.
And obviously, a unique name helps you stand out. You need differentiation, not confusion with competitors.
Absolutely. Now, the downsides. What happens if you don't put enough thought into the name? What are the pitfalls of a weak name?
Well, a bad or generic name can just cause confusion. People might not get what you do, or they might mix you up with someone else.
Or a name that's too long, too complex, hard to pronounce. People just won't remember it, and they definitely won't share it easily. Kills word of mouth.
Yeah, good point. And ultimately, a weak name just creates these constant, unnecessary hurdles for all your brand building efforts. If the foundation is shaky, everything else is harder.
Let's look at some winners. Apple. Tech company, but the name is simple, evocative, totally non-techy, memorable, unique.
And Nike. Short, powerful, action-oriented, perfect fit for sports gear, conveys energy.
And Amazon. The name itself suggests vastness, variety, perfectly suited for a marketplace aiming to sell everything.
And you see the fails, too. Tech companies with names full of jargon or just abstract letters and numbers. Hard to remember, hard to connect with.
Or businesses with names way too similar to existing competitors. Just causes confusion and dilutes their own identity.
And sometimes, names just have unintended negative meanings, or they're impossible to pronounce for the target audience. Just creates barriers.
So, the actionable advice here: invest real time and thought into choosing your name. Aim for short, simple, memorable, ideally relevant to your brand's essence or value. Do your homework, make sure it's unique in your market, no negative baggage. A strong name is a powerful, enduring asset.
And there you have it, the 7 fundamental branding secrets we've dug into in this deep dive. We really hope this session gave you some valuable insights, maybe some practical guidance for your own journey.
Absolutely. Remember, building an unforgettable brand isn't about chasing trends or flashy gimmicks. It's about deeply understanding and consistently applying these foundational principles. They endure.
So as you think back on these 7 secrets, singular focus, leadership, niche, perception, narrowing, sub-brands, naming which one really resonates most strongly with you right now, and how do you actually see yourself applying it to your own venture to create that impact? We really encourage you to think about the long-term effects of your branding choices.
Yeah, these aren't just abstract ideas, they're practical tools. Wielded thoughtfully, they can seriously shape the future success of your business. Take the time, revisit these concepts, and really consider how they apply to your specific situation.
Thanks for taking this deep dive into branding with us. Until our next exploration, keep building that unforgettable brand. You know how some brand names just like pop in your head instantly, while others are, well, totally forgettable. If you're building something, maybe a business, a project, a brand, are you sometimes stuck wondering what the secret sauce is?
Yeah.
To making it truly stick with people.
Oh, absolutely. It's a common challenge. And that's exactly what we're diving deep into today.
Great.
Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. We're here to pull out the crucial knowledge you need. And today, our focus is razor sharp. We're unlocking fundamental branding principles, the kind that can take your work from just another option to, well, the only option in your audience's mind.
Yeah, and this isn't just academic theory, right?
Not at all. This is about giving you a tangible strategic advantage.
Precisely. So our mission today is to really get under the hood. What makes a brand resonate deeply, not just, superficially. We want to equip you with insights that cut through the marketing jargon
Mm.
and really reveal the core stuff for building an unforgettable presence.
Think of this as your personal blueprint. We've boiled down a lot of info into 7 key secrets, and when you really grasp and implement them, they can fundamentally shift how your brand is seen and how successful it becomes.
Okay, sounds good. So here's the map for our journey today. We're going to explore, let's see.
Go for it.
1, the power of singular focus, owning a word in the mind. 2, the leadership imperative, getting there first.
Crucial.
3, carving your niche category dominance. 4, perception is king, what customers think matters most.
Always.
5, the art of